mind. But there you go. The headline of the Standard, why boarding schools may end. Do you think they should end or not? Get yourself a copy and see what the proposals are. Then you can weigh in. On page 2 of the Standard this morning, Matters Politics, we have Gideon, Kalonzo alliance mooted. And of course, over the weekend, there was activity with Gideon Moi, those basically pushing for that alliance. Whether do you see this as a way forward? Of course, politicians will always posture and tell us that 2022 is far away, but when you listen to some of the statements they make, you can really tell that campaign and alliances are certainly in the making.
Yeah, I think this thing they are talking, there are two things. They seem to appreciate that Honorable Mheshimiwa Ruto is their force, but they are forgetting Raila somewhere.
In that equation.
That equation they are forgetting. And then, if you put Kalonzo, Honorable Kalonzo and Honorable Musalia, Kalonzo will insist that he wants to be president. Therefore, this alliance, I think the only person who will be soft enough is Mangidi, and Mangidi, Gideon mwenyewe. He may be soft. He may say, I'm willing to be run number 2 or number 3, but it is too early. Too early, because
formations are still
formations, because there could be handshake, there could be a new handshake between the president and his deputy, scuttling the original handshake and so on. I wish if I were them, let each person just popularize himself so that 2021 you come tagging with Honorable Raila, say either back me up or give me a torture. Otherwise, he's there. There are 2 people, himself and President Uhuru. Those 2 are the key. If I were the 3 or 4 of these other people, I would be looking for one of the 2.
One of the 2. Michael Agwanda, it's an exercise in futility for us as Kenyans to expect politicians to stop politicking, because that's what they do, and to expect them to stop looking at 2022. But perhaps as they do that, the electorate should also be very keen, watching, and possibly making decisions come 2022, because they affect them on a daily basis. What is it that we should be looking out for as these leaders continue to parabolate and, literally just form alliances?
In our community, we say a dik-dik is not anybody's goat. What does that mean? That any political position in this country is not particularly belonging to an individual.
To anyone.
And so, when you look at Gideon Moi and you look at Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and many other people now salivating for the position of the president of this country, what they're forgetting is there are also a lot of proposals that are coming out, and there's a high possibility that we're going to change our constitution. And so the question is, what are they specifically looking for? And if you look at these people, all they're talking about is the position of the presidency. That is what Honorable Gideon Moi wants. That's what is Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka want, that is what Musalia Mudavadi want. But what about if the constitution changes and therefore you have a parliamentary system where the prime minister is going to run the day? Are they going to change what they want, or have even they thought through this? When you look at all this equation is also specifically just threatening the man that thinks that there is the next president, and that is the deputy president. Because you will never have thought in a million years that somebody coming from his Rift Valley backyard that he calls his home turf will be getting into alliances with the communities around him, and therefore it could split votes that he thought that he had all in one basket, which is quite unfortunate. That is basically how it's going to be, that Rift Valley is not going to vote as a bloc if Gideon Moi runs for any position, as well as when deputy president runs for any position. As to whether who will win that regional bloc, votes, I think, Deputy President will get more. But when you look at the maize scandal, and you look at the NCBD issues that we've been having, and you look at the Deputy President himself telling these people to, look at other crops, not only maize, and yet that has been the lifeline. And remember that teaching an old dog new tricks is a little bit difficult. I mean, the Rift Valley bloc has only known how to grow maize and also wheat as well. And so when you bring it to a level where you're saying, well, we didn't pay you, but you know, you could think otherwise, and they know very well that that money that was not paid to them was actually pocketed by a few individuals, and you're one of those people that is being alleged by some of your former cronies that you might have been involved in this, then I am telling you that the children being born will not care less about the deputy president. They will care about what was on the table and what their parents told them. Today, very few people care about, the former, politicians that were so powerful, like Angaine and Oloi Tip Tip. None of their families are in politics today, but when they spoke those days, let me tell you, the world was shaking. And so what I have to say is they have a right to come together, congregate, and say anything they want, but I really don't think they know what they want because we are changing the constitution.
All right, and that brings me to a story on page 12, whether expanding the executive will boost unity. That's according to ODM. And you've alluded to the fact that even as they have their formations, they better not forget that Raila Amolo Odinga is not completely out of the race. So that might just make equations become very difficult. But ODM here proposing an expanded executive. Opposition party wants more executive positions created to shift attention from presidency, which it says has become a trophy for ethnic competition.
What I can say is that the Kenyan population is tired of even the current composition. They think parliament is too much, all this. If there is an attempt to change the constitution, that is where we will be able to get the next president. The person who will successfully oppose the attempt to alter, interfere, and dismantle the constitution, that fellow will lead that coalition, will emerge the next president. And that fellow has my support today. Declared before they started that those who will be trying to manipulate, dismantle, or deal with this constitution to do this or that, they should be prepared for serious opposition. It is not shortage of leadership. It is not shortage of positions. We are talking about the 4 major agenda items by the Jubilee administration. That's the one they should be talking about. Amending the constitution could be important, but not top the priority. Every country must have a priority. Every individual must run his or her life based on priority. Everything is good, but you order them. For now, we want good health care.
But the question, of course, that many will ask is priority. Yes, it may not be, but priority for who? Because when it comes to our politicians, maybe that is a priority for them for selfish reasons.
Priority for the growth of this country. Priority for Wanjiku and Weda and the rest. If it is for them, they would want to increase their salaries. They want to do this. But when now you go to hospital, you don't get drugs. Some children die in Muranga because they cannot get anti-rabies jab, and the bigger people are yapping about positions. This is the time the local person must be able to say, let us do railway from Nairobi to Kisumu the way it was promised. Let us do the housing, the healthcare. It is not the constitution that we are lacking. There's nowhere where we can look and say, if this constitution, we added 3 pages of the constitution, our economy would grow. If we added another 10 clauses, our exports would increase. I think they are putting the wrong thing. Both ODM and the handshake team and even the government. Let us get back to the 4 agenda items. Mr. President, you have only 3 years to get this. Otherwise, history will judge you so harshly. And it will be unfortunate because you will still be young enough. You'll still have another, Bush died at 94. You may live to be 100. So you have another 60, 40 years that we will be criticizing you day and night the way you did nothing.
All right.
So get back to work.
Michael Agwanda, do you see as the change of the constitution inevitable? It looks like it's one of those things that politicians have their eyes on it, whether for the right reasons or not. Is it time? Is the timing wrong?
I've said, Kenyans have so many laws, some of them are actually rotting on the shelves. In fact, if they were all removed and dusted, we may not be able to see the sunlight. But whether we implement these laws or it is for the technocrats for that reason to have what to do in every government circle, I really don't know. As to whether we will have a constitutional change or not, I can guarantee you we're going to have a constitutional change. The reason why we're going to have a constitutional change is stakes are too high. Stakes are high for the president himself, that he's being offered some lucrative opportunities once he's retired, because everybody is saying, well, what is our president going to do when he retires? He will only be 61. I can tell you there are many billionaires out there. Some of them have been president, but they are retired and they're doing very well.
And they're
an example is President Obama, that has now started a foundation, is writing books, is speaking all over the world. When he came to Kenya last time, he was actually headed to South Africa to give an inaugural speech. And so when you're asking such a question, it just tells you our mentality. Our mentality is a mentality where we want to believe that if it is not the Odingas, if it is not the Kenyattas, if it is not the Mois, then no one else. Unfortunately, that should not be the question. The leadership of this country should be given to people who are able to lead, who are able and have the ability to lead, not based on tribe, color, creed, region, location, or counties, but based on the values and virtues. That is why we are having a problem in this country. Because, Mike, if you've stolen a lot of money today, you will leave KTN and then go home and say, I want to be a politician. And you will be elected based on how much money you have, not thinking of where did he get it. And if we elect him, we are actually elect him to go make decisions based on our money. Will we be able to find our money intact? If he had stolen before, he's definitely going to steal. He will never care about you. Those are the majorities we have in Parliament. Those are a lot of people we have in the Senate. And therefore, you expect laws to be made. If they want to change, and I know they want to change this constitution, they will. But remember, that is how they also get to know who is going to be the president, who is going to be the prime minister, because it's a move like a general election. And if you become orange and win, you know that you're bound to win the election. So you come with a bang and force, and people will be swayed towards that direction, knowing that, oh, it is the bananas who lost. I don't think they're going to win an election. So you can see that these are signals and bells that are ringing to show that this political end in 2022, these people will be the people. And so when you have the likes of Honorable Gideon Moi and Kalonzo Musyoka, still playing ping pong and not telling you where they're headed, they are waiting for this, change of constitution so that they lump themselves on one side, and then when they win, they know they will run the country.
All right.
That is where we are.
Okay, and well, that's a debate, of course, again, that continues. But let us now take a look at the Daily Nation, where the headline is Bribery Storm over Ruaraka Land. Now, there was a commission, or rather a committee of senators that was looking through this, and there was recommendations within the report that Dr. Matiang'i and his counterpart, Education PS Belio Kipsang, should be held responsible for the 1.5 billion shillings that was paid out to land that belonged to the government. However, there is claims again, and we've had this before in the National Assembly, but this time in the Senate, that money may have, it's alleged, money may have exchanged hands between 30 and 50,000 to ensure that the report is shot down. Whether from a legal perspective, it looks like, again, we're not going to have anybody held culpable for this particular 1.5 billion that taxpayers may have lost through a scam.
There are some stones which we always say, oh, we shall turn all stones, but there are some stones you cannot touch. You cannot turn them. They can be turned in a different regime. If you are talking about the Ruaraka land, you are talking about the interior CS. I don't think the president would want the question of security and everything disturbed by arresting the interior CS. So this one, Kenyans should go home and arrest. It will be addressed another time. For now, if Agwanda here steals, we'll arrest you very early in the morning and on a Friday evening. But the others, we must accept this so that we don't have high blood pressure over calling names, so and so, so and so. Accept that certain people, for now, they cannot be touched. It is in every regime. Every regime will have people who cannot be touched. So if you want to steal, you get these people and you get behind them. They'll give you a good cover. If you come under the cover of weather, you will be arrested. But the others, you choose and go under them, and you are safe for that time. So I really don't think that Waraka land, we should get over it and deal with the railway going to Kisumu instead of discussing. I don't think it was bribes. Those people were just being careful. The senators were just being human and careful and knowing which part. I said here, like the gender bill, see, I was here telling you, that one, you can see the body language of the leaders. You can see Honorable Raila, you can see the president, and you can see the way they're acting, and then you take their action. And when they wanted the VAT bill passed, then you can see the two actions, and you can tell this one they support, this one they don't support, but they still give Mwananchi the same drama. So here, headline, we should have left it, we should have given something, because this one is too big a stone
to be touched. All right, Agwanda, your thoughts on this and the fact that 1.3 billion shillings taxpayers' money may have been lost, but again, we seem not to be getting to the bottom of it.
What I want to ask Kenyans is if the owner of the Raka land came out and said, you know, I'd been paid about 1.5 billion, and the committee in the Senate wanted money from me, and there's a possibility that some money had already been given. Did you expect anything different? Absolutely not. You know, this is what it is. He came out in public and the government never followed through and said, but who are these individuals that wanted bribe from the owner of Raka land? And he came out public. When he came out public, to me, I thought, aha moment in the sense that now the government will take this matter seriously and say, oh, PAC in Senate, you want bribe so that you can make this go down, yeah? But why do you want bribe? Is it because that you have the facts about this land and therefore you just want the bribe? Or is it that you don't have the facts and so you want to make sure that these statements are done well? There are rumors that some money exchange hands. In fact, I talked to one of the senators who told me that what surprised him is how all the senators wanted to be there, but on that very day, he never saw some of them. And so we know that when some of these committees, when people don't show up, they have interest. You remember that sugar thing where people were given money in Parliament in the toilet. Remember the whistleblowers, Michael? Those whistleblowers, in fact, now are the ones that the Parliament said investigate those whistleblowers. But the people who gave the money are now scot-free. In fact, Parliament said don't even go near them. Don't go near those guys. The guys who whistleblow are the ones that are maligning our name and they're disrespecting the House. And for that reason, they need to be investigated, possibly be jailed for what they said. Look, what they're trying to tell the public is we are a team of people that you can do nothing to. It doesn't matter whether you're the courts, it doesn't matter whether you're a journalist, and it doesn't matter what you write, and it doesn't matter whether we've stolen money or not. What we are is we are above the law because we're the people who make the law. Unfortunately, as it is, that is what it is. We've lost money in that Raka land, we've lost money, and we've seen the corruption in the sugar industry. But when Rai comes, everybody wants to hug Rai. Let me tell you, you don't just hug Rai. You hug Rai because you know him in person. And you didn't know him in Parliament or in the committee. You knew him somewhere else through the toilets. And for that reason, you have to tell him, my friend, you know, I just built a house because of you. I'm very happy because of you. But whether people die, and when you look at this, I just want to add up on that sugar thing. You saw another sugar that was brought into the country even after the issue of the sugar importation was so hot in Parliament. Another sugar has just been returned, you know, the last week. And so you wonder, my friend, we are dealing with issues of about 1 billion kilograms of sugar already already in the country, but we are still importing more at the back of, everybody's, all this political melee going on in parliament, but we're still importing sugar. In other words, we do not allow anybody to plant sugar in this country because we have more than enough for several years, but we're still bringing more. What did that tell you? Our politicians don't think about you.
All right, I'll have to pause you right there because of time, and we need to take a break. It's now 13 minutes after 7. We need to take a short break. When we come back, it's time for us to look